What is going on, everybody? Crypto Clay here, tapping in. I hope everybody's doing good out there, wherever you are in the world. I'm doing great. Uh, got out of that 9 to 5 a little early, here to continue on some of that content that we were talking about last time. But, that market's crazy out there. But for me, I ain't playing. I'm DCing. How's that for a dad joke? Oh yeah, what's up with that? I ain't playing. I'm DC and motherfuckers. And when I see a gem out there, I see that gem, I'm like, oh yeah, let me get some of that gem, and I scoops it on up. Let's see, what have I been scooping up? Today and yesterday, on the dips, I've been scooping up that songbird. I think I'm going to make a separate video about it. I almost included it in this, but a songbird, the Canary Network for Flare Finance, they're live with NFTs. Now, I bought 2 NFTs and I was in the marketplace, and they're like, I mean, it's just getting started. There's only like, I don't even think it's at 250,000 total NFTs have even been dropped yet. And there's like no movement in there. Not too many people are screwing around in the bear market down in Songbird, but I was in there. I like supporting new things when they occur, so I got a couple NFTs, not for profit, just because, I guess I'd sell it if one day they were worth a lot, but I do like the idea of one day being able to get a TV that when it's on its like screensaver mode, it's displaying my NFTs that I bought in ancient times, when these digital assets were just taking off. It'd be really cool. I'd rather have a piece of history. Unless I can sell an NFT for millions of dollars, then of course I'm going to do it. But if it's just thousands, I'm not interested in it. I'd rather just keep it for the novelty of it for the most part. But anyway, last time I was over at the stellar.org website, and we were talking about stellar lumens, some of the technology behind it. And this is the Stellar Consensus Protocol white paper. Okay. And if you scroll down into it, I'm on page 3. I'll leave it linked in the description of this video. I just think it's funny. They essentially just knock Bitcoin and proof of work in here. They knock proof of stake. They knocked the Byzantine agreement. They knocked Tendermint, which I'm not that familiar with that type of consensus protocol. And of course, in this white paper, they're presenting the Stellar Consensus Protocol. But so I'm in here on page 3, looking at the Stellar Consensus Protocol, and it's breaking down the different mechanisms of consensus, right? And so proof of work, we all know which one started, Bitcoin. I love how it points out, even though Bitcoin is a super robust network, it's still, no matter what, it will always, so far, unless we hear of some other new idea out there, it will always be susceptible to a 51% attack. Nobody talks about that out there. I remember when I first got into crypto, that's what made me get into altcoins, was the pure fact that Bitcoin, no matter what, so far, can still theoretically be 51% attacked. Now, if you're new to understanding these systems, 51% attack is just controlling 51% of the network's hash rate and being able to control transactions within the network, right? Like the double spend. That's what they talk about in here. So yeah, they knock it here in the beginning, and then they move on in this chart to proof of stake, right? And they knock it a little bit here too. They says, an alternative to proof of work is proof of stake, in which consensus depends on parties that have posted collateral. Like proof of work, rewards encourage rational participants to obey the protocol. Some designs additionally penalize bad behavior, Buterin 2014. Proof of stake opens the possibility of so-called nothing at stake attacks, in which parties that previously posted collateral but later cashed it in and spent the money can go back and rewrite history from a point where they still had stake. To mitigate such attacks, systems effectively combine proof of stake with proof of work, scaling down the required work in proportion to stake, or delay refunding collateral long enough for some other, sometimes informal, consensus mechanisms to establish an irreversible checkpoint. Still another approach, Byzantine agreement, which we know that's the XRP consensus, right? As proof of consensus Byzantine fault agreement, right? This approach has two appealing properties. First, consensus can be fast and efficient. Second, trust is entirely decoupled from resource ownership, which makes it possible for a small nonprofit to help keep more powerful organizations such as banks or CAs honest. Complicating matters, however, all parties must agree on the exact list of participants. Moreover, attackers must be prevented from joining multiple times and exceeding the system's fault tolerance, a so-called Sybil attack, which I've heard of that before, accommodates unknown participants, but still presupposes a Sybil-proof centralized admission control mechanism. Here it says generally membership of the Byzantine agreement systems is set by a central authority or close negotiation. Prior attempts to decentralize admissions have given up some of the benefits. One approach taken by Ripple is to publish a starter membership list that participants can edit for themselves, hoping people's edits are either inconsequential or reproduced by an overwhelming fraction of participants. Unfortunately, because divergent lists invalidate safety guarantees, Schwartz et al., so David Schwartz, 2014, users are reluctant to edit the list in practice, and a great deal of power ends up concentrated in the maintainer of the starter list. Another approach, taken by Tendermint, is to base memberships on proof of stake. However, doing so, again, ties trust to resource ownership. Stellar Consensus Protocol is the first Byzantine agreement protocol to give each participant maximum freedom in choosing which combination of other participants to trust. So you basically get to choose which network you want to validate your transactions. So that means if you really don't trust all these other validators over here, you don't have to use them within your system. So I was almost thinking about the difference between a global state system and a non-global state system. Stellar is basically becoming like a hybrid. Like you could have your own little 10 validators doing their own transactions outside of all the other validators within the network, which is pretty cool. So that's, if you go back to this chart here within the SCP white paper, it checks off in the Stellar Consensus Protocol that it has decentralized control, low latency, and that flexible trust is what we were talking about. And this word's weird to say, asymptotic security, which is basically the 51% attack. Which, I mean, if you look at here, it knocks the crap out of Bitcoin. Bitcoin only checks one place in this decentralized control. Proof of stake only checks one, and low latency and the security, it says maybe. So Stellar Labs is really knocking it. They don't give decentralized control checklists to systems like XRP, simply because they have to start with a centralized authority. And that's what people are always arguing about in the XRP community and outside of it is XRP decentralized? And it is, but it had to become that way through a centralized mechanism. So it makes it slightly, potentially less centralized, simply because all the actors must agree upon the new actor, right? So it's kind of becomes a centralized authority in a way. It's interesting. But to me, so XRP was meant to be a robust, strong, simple ledger, right, that doesn't fail. Stellar, it is behaving more like an organic, usable around the world currency. I was reading you can interact with it in like tons of different, not only verbal languages, but coding languages. And I want to get into that in a second. But going back to my last video on the stellar.org website, we were talking about BITT, which is one of Stellar's investments, right? And we clicked on that, went into their website, and they're helping people develop currencies, CBDCs. And one thing I just didn't mention on there, and I have to bring it up, is the Banking Innovation Through Technology, or BITS milestone list here. So you can see all their different milestones. I'm going to start with 2019 because it gets juicier. Signed a contract with the Central Eastern Caribbean Central Bank to conduct a blockchain-issued central bank digital currency. E-Governance Academy of Estonia, Central Bank of Barbados, and the Financial Services Commission. Digital bill payments in Barbados, Core Telecom Systems, Central Bank. Well, I can't read that. It's another language to me. Let's try Bank Van, Caraco, and San Martin. Feasibility study. Core banking system. That one was interesting to me. Core banking system. First integration. 2019. So, like I said before, these guys are helping the world develop CBDCs. National Bank of Belize entered into a partnership with BIT 2020. I'm on to the 2020 list here. And then we got Dcash partnered with an Eastern Caribbean central bank to launch the world's first CBDC. Central Banking, FinTech, and RegTech Global Awards. For its work on Dcash pilot, BIT was awarded as the 2021 Central Bank Digital Currency Partner by the industry's leading source information, Monetary Authority of Singapore's Global CBDC Challenge. BIT was a part of it. Nara, I think that's how you say it, partnered with the Central Bank of Nigeria to launch the first live retail CBDC on the continent of Africa. Wealth and Finance Magazine 2021 FinTech Award, BIT was awarded the most empowering cross-border payment system provider in the Caribbean. NBB Pay partnered with the government-owned National Bank of Belize to launch the stablecoin and digital payment infrastructure. So within Belize, Tascom Bank partnered with one of Ukraine's oldest commercial banks to launch a pilot project to issue electronic, I don't know how to say their currency, Hryvnia, on Stellar, and we knew that before in my last video that they're developing Ukraine's CBDC on the Stellar blockchain. I just wanted to point out their milestones. So BIT is super important investment of Stellar Labs. So some bigger news, super cool. The New York Fed, this is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York website. They have released their product Cedar phase 1, right? When Project Cedar is their attempt to create a CBDC, like their testing platform, right? So Project Cedar is the inaugural project of the New York Innovation Center. It is a multi-phase research effort to develop a technical framework for a theoretical wholesale central bank digital currency in the Federal Reserve context. In phase 1 of Project Cedar, a prototype for a wholesale central bank digital currency was developed to demonstrate the potential of blockchain to improve the speed, cost, and access to critical element of wholesale cross-border payment market, a foreign exchange spot transaction. Problem space, yeah, they talk about all the problems with cross-border payments, whatever. In a simulated wholesale FX spot transactions, Project Cedar developed a wholesale central bank digital currency prototype to test whether blockchain technology can deliver fast and safe payments. Core to Project Cedar's solution concept was the distributed ledger infrastructure, a multi-ledger construct in which each currency was maintained on a separate ledger operated by its respective simulated central bank. The phase 1 prototype included design choices such as permissioned blockchain network, utilizing an unspent transaction output, data model, and Rust as the primary programming language. Okay, Rust. Okay, we're going to talk about Rust. Results. Project Cedar showed the blockchain-enabled cross-border payments can be faster, simultaneous, and safer. Faster payments. Boom. Atomic settlement. Safer and accessible transactions. Next step. Phase 1 of Project Cedar revealed key questions and highlighted areas for further research, specifically around ledger platform design, interoperability, and security. As part of its continued WCBDC research, the NYIC announced Project Cedar Phase 2 times UBIN Plus, a joint experiment with the Monetary Authority of Singapore to explore questions related to interoperability and ledger design, including how to achieve concurrence and best enforce atomic transactions across different blockchain-based payment systems. Project Cedar 2 will enhance designs for atomic settlements of cross-border currency transactions, leveraging WCBDCs as a settlement asset. The effort which entails establishing connectivity across multiple heterogeneous simulated currency ledgers, aim to significantly reduce settlement risk, a key point in cross-border cross-currency transactions. So a lot of the language that they use, that we've been using for years when we're talking about XRP and XLM, right? They're using in this report. So what I see is CBDCs. Do I need to get the tinfoil hat on? Are we ready for the tinfoil hat already? Anyways, I see CBDCs not existing for forever. Okay, I see them as the transition phase that will run along fiat. So we'll have CBDCs, basically digital fiat, running alongside these blockchains. And then eventually it will just be settling with blockchains and not CBDCs necessarily. We, maybe we'll have a one world currency, or, like some people speculate, the basket of SDRs backed by the IMF. But that could be another video. Let's get back to Rust. So why are they using Rust? I was curious, why not another programming language? So we're talking about Rust. Hypothesis. So this is within the actual Project Cedar Phase 1 report. There is a distributed ledger technologies solution for wholesale FX settlement that results in instant and atomic settlement in which WCBDC is the settlement asset. And we all need to remember that XRP has a built-in decentralized exchange. It's like the perfect setup to move CBDCs around, okay? Now, we could speculate that Stellar might be the global currency, but when you're in your home country or in another country, you could also use their CBDC, right? And then eventually CBDCs will be phased out to the one world currency. Do I need to get man, I feel like I need to get the tinfoil hat out, but not yet, okay? Not yet. No, I'll shut up. I'll shut up about that shit. So yeah, I'll leave this in the description, okay? I'll leave the Project Cedar Phase 1 report in there, and you should really check it out. So we'll get back to Rust. Why did they choose Rust? Okay, so this is on geeksforgeeks.org, talking about Rust basics, okay? Let's see what it says down here. Rust is fast. Rust is memory safe. Rust is low overhead. Rust is flexible. Rust is easy to use. The programming language. That's what we're talking about, not the oxidized metal. Okay, Rust is statistically and strongly typed, so it can bind with C programs because it's much like C++ syntax. So Rust programming language is a multi-paradigm programming language similar to C++ syntax. Thus, it becomes very easy for anyone to learn Rust across multiple platforms. Rust code complies to native machine code, and it can bind with C APIs that can provide memory safety, and just like vectors, it can make use of high-level functions. Okay, and so that's important to note. Okay, now and then we can go see here on GitHub. The Rippled server software is primarily written in C++ and runs on a variety of platforms. Similar to C++, Rust provides a C API that provides memory safety, so it can bind with C-like programs. Go to github.com. We're checking out that most of the Rippled server software is written in C++, so you could bind Rust with the syntax of Ripple. Okay, I'm not a coder. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Help me learn this stuff. Help me get better at it. But I'm just trying to find a connection that they're using a CBDC built on Rust, and so far it seems to be compatible with XRP. Let's go check out XLM. We got Python, because, okay, Stellar is highly advanced. So language dependencies, Python, NumPy, PyTorch, Fast BPE, Moses, Apex, and I'm not really familiar with a lot of those. I've heard of Python. I know there's other digital assets that use Python. And I thought this was interesting. Over here at Quora, somebody asks the straight up question, what programming language is Stellar written in? And an actual dev from Stellar Labs reported in here. And he says Stellar is not written in only one programming language. Really cool. But for different products, different languages are used. Stellar Core is the backbone of the Stellar network and is written in what? C++, just like XRP, right? And Rust seems to be compatible with C++ languages because they have similar syntax. Stellar Network is mainly written in C, C++, JavaScript, and Go languages. Stellar did originally fork from Ripple, which I don't know if can you fork Ripple or can you just make your own? I don't know if you can fork it, but this is a dev, okay? This is coming directly from a dev, so what the fuck do I know? Stellar did originally fork from Ripple. The code was since replaced, however, in November 2015. The new algorithm, which is the Stellar Consensus Protocol, or SCP, and code came with SDKs for a variety of popular programming languages, so it's compatible with Java, JavaScript, Python, which we saw at the GitHub talking about Python in XLM, Ruby, .NET, Scala, C++, and Go. And if you look here, Rust can be used to extend Python. This is just a dev created an article, and he's literally going through the literal code framework, teaching you how to enhance and extend Python coding languages with Rust. So that's why I found it interesting that the New York Fed is developing their prototype CBDC, and they said in there, so full disclosure, they said in the project PDF, they said it, they might not use what they use in the testing phase, so they might end up with a whole different coding language, a whole different system. They literally said that in this, and I will post it in below in the description. Okay. So I thought that was interesting that at least they're using Rust, which seems to be compatible with a lot of the digital assets that we hold. So now, all right. Oh, we gotta get this on. We gotta get the motherfucking tinfoil hat on because it's gonna get crazy in here. It's gonna get popping. Okay, I can't leave you without some kind of crazy shit. That wouldn't be the Crypto Clay channel. Okay, can't not leave you with some crazy shit. So first, we're going to add a cipher in here. Okay, now first off, I'm not a real decoder. Okay, I don't know that much about numerology, but I just want to show the power of the numerological codes and the different ciphers out there. So I really explored the Chaldean cipher. Shout out to Waters Above. Shout out to Logan at Decode Reality. Those are true decoders. I'm just experimental. I know that reality is made of energy. Energy can be expressed in numbers, and numbers we can freaking write down, right? So why couldn't the universe be expressed in numbers? And who am I to say which system is the best, right? But so I find it fascinating that the Chaldean system is saying exactly what I'm saying, that everything is made of energy, and that transcribes into numbers. So you can go and you can figure out more about each one of these ciphers, but we're going to talk about the Chaldeans cipher and what it has to do with XLM. So let's type this in here. We got XLM. In the Chaldean, we get 12. Boom. Let's type in Stellar. Boom. We get 21. Now we know in a lot of numerology, the reciprocal numbers are expressing similar energy, right? So in the Chaldean, in Stellar, we're getting 21. In the Chaldean and XLM, we're getting 12. Fascinating reciprocal of each other, right? And we'll take it a step further. We'll add Saturn. Well, it's Saturn, right? And you can't make this shit up, people. In Chaldean, it's 21. You got 21, 21, 12. Saturn, stellar, XLM. Come on, guys. And of course, we know that the symbol of freaking stellar is Saturn. Come on, guys. There are no accidents. Okay. That's why, maybe I shouldn't even wear the tinfoil hat because it's not speculation. It's right there in your eyes. It's right. It's right there in your face. We could see Saturn here with its rings. And to me, all this, it's energy, right? And these are gas giants out there. These are big ass planets. Jupiter is a big ass planet too. And I think these large masses, just like the moon has an effect on water, these other celestial bodies also have a subtle effect on the Earth's energies. And I think that's why there are such connections to these planets through numerology, because they're pointing at like an energy trail. And one of my favorite guys, George Gurdjieff, who coined the teachings of the fourth way, he created his own word, and he because there was no word in English. I think there are in other languages like Sanskrit, but he created his own word, solenosis, which basically just, the definition, the way I take it, is things that have a mass have gravity, and that gravity, when two objects come near each other, they will either push off each other or they will resonate, or there's some kind of effect, right, between two objects that have mass. And so just because they're super far away doesn't mean they don't have an effect on what's happening here. Okay. And back to my last video, how I talked about that 1988 Economist magazine, and we can see the stellar symbol, that Saturn symbol right there, talking about how the Phoenix will run alongside digital fiat currencies, and it will be a heyday for all these institutions, and eventually the CBDCs will not be trusted, and the one world digital currency will be trusted. This is Crypto Clay, tapping out. Peace and love.